We have got an amazing Wonderkid for you guys today in FM24, and I don't know how he isn't being spoken about more and signed more in the FM community, because he's got the potential of some of the best Wonderkids in the game, and on top of that, he comes fairly cheap too. We're going to show you in today's video how to take him from 16-year-old prospect into a world-class player, so stick with us. And with that being said, let's get into Wonderkid to Superstar. You'll see we are here with Real Madrid, but we're going to go and hunt this player down now. To do so, we need to head to the Portuguese divisions. Now, I've got a small database loaded here with only 13,000 players or so, only the Spanish division loaded, and this guy is still in my save, so hopefully that'll be the case for all of you guys as well. He's a young, talented star playing for FC Porto. If we filter by all players and then sort by age and scroll to the top, he's not 40-year-old Pepe. Let's go to the other side. Here you go. You will find him Rodrigo Mora. Now, he's got some great attributes straight away, but I would forgive you guys if you looked at him and thought he's a fairly average Wonderkid. He is certainly not, and I'm going to show you exactly how to turn him into a star in this video. But to start off with, he's a 16-year-old Portuguese national playing in Porto's B team, value between 2.7 and 5.4 million. Let's say you can get him for about 3 million in most saves. Obviously, when you load up a save, his potential can fluctuate within a range, and that will affect his value, and some of his attributes might be randomized as well. But he starts off as a very decent player for a 16-year-old, and he has a potential range of 150 to 180. So if he develops onto the lowest end of that, if you get the worst possible version of Rodrigo Mora, you are still going to get a star, and on the highest end you will get an unbelievable player, and that's what we'll show you in today's video. We'll put him to the highest end of that potential range and simulate his career to see how good he can be. Now, he can play as a number 10, but he's also natural on that left hand side as an inside forward. Now, you could argue as a 10 maybe his passing isn't too great. For an inside forward, maybe his finishing isn't too great either. So there is a debate about what his best position is, and we'll talk more about that later in the video when we decide on his role. But let's just talk about the attributes he has right away. Physically, he's got some nice pace, agility and acceleration. Nothing too extreme, but for a 16-year-old, that's perfectly fine, and he's going to get better in those areas as time goes on. He's got the flair, the first touch, the dribbling ability, decent passing, technique and vision. On top of that, he's got good decision making and anticipation, making him a very good young prospect. So now let's bring him over to our Real Madrid team and show you how we're going to set him up. Now, realistically, he's not going to start for a team like Real Madrid straight away, but for the sake of the simulation, to see him at his best, we're going to simulate with him playing as often as possible. And on top of that, if you're a club that isn't Real Madrid's quality and you're not able to attract Rodrigo Mora to your side just yet, then scout him, wait a couple years, see how he develops in your save. There's no rush to get him immediately. Just be aware his price may change. Now, you'll see the first thing we've done, we're running a 4-3-3 gegenpress preset, very basic tactic. I've done nothing to it. We've got Rodrigo Mora playing as that inside forward. Now, remember, he can also play behind the striker, but personally I just feel like he suits that inside forward role a little bit more. The flair, the acceleration, the agility and pace, and the dribbling and first touch. As they get better, he's going to be very, very good at beating his man in a direct battle. Maybe as time goes on and he develops as a player with that passing, the vision and the technique, we can maybe move him in to that number 10 slot. But I think for now, I want to use him as an inside forward. We've got him being mentored by Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, among many others, to try and rub off their influence on him to change his personality, which is only a balance in this save. It might be different for you guys because some of these things can fluctuate in FM with the younger players. But in terms of his training, the important part, here's what I suggest you should do. Firstly, of course, train him in the role that you're going to play him. If that's an advanced playmaker in that number 10 spot, then train him there. Don't just train him in a position, train him in a role, and you'll see much better attribute growth. Now, we'll leave the additional focus as none, as we do with all of these players in these videos. But for you guys, what I'd suggest you do is work on that decision making and composure. You can do so using the final third additional focus. That'll make him a lot better in those final moments before a goal, whether it's taking a moment to score it or play the right pass. Getting that up will really help him. On top of that, if you're playing him as an advanced playmaker, maybe you want to increase his passing. If you're playing him as an inside forward on the left, maybe you want to focus on his finishing or his crossing if you want him as an inverted winger. Whatever version of Rodrigo Mora you get, find out what's lacking, develop that area, and then by the time he's 18, start to give him some game time. With young players like this, the first couple of years, 16, 17, they don't necessarily need to be playing football week in, week out, but once they get to 18 years of age, play him or loan him out and you'll start to see some very good development. With that being said, we'll be playing him in this Madrid team as often as possible, so let's simulate a couple of years and see how he's getting on. Before we see him on the lower end of that potential range, just a heads up, if you are enjoying this content, we'd really appreciate it if you could smash the like button for us and subscribe as well. We do daily Football Manager content here on the FM Scout channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on Wonderkids like this. And finally, comment down below what Wonderkid you want to see in the next episode of the series. We take on your guys' suggestions, so if you want to see someone, let us know in the comments. But you'll see we're now here in 2025, and interestingly enough, Rodrigo Mora here is nowhere near that lowest end of his potential range, so this isn't even him anywhere near the worst possible case version, and he's already such good value for money from the £3 million initial investment we paid for him. 2 years on, he's now 18 years of age with international appearances for the under-21 Portugal team. His physicals have started to develop a lot and become much better rounded now, as have his mentals and his technical attributes. If we have a look at him in that inside forward position on the attack duty, he is really starting to become a good player. Now obviously he would not start for Real Madrid normally, but we've asked the assistant manager to play him as often as possible, and in the in-game engine, he's been doing pretty well for a player so young. Remember, he's nowhere near even his worst possible potential at this stage. He's currently about 125 current ability. His minimum possible potential in your save is about 150, so that shows you how far we've still got to go with Mora here. But for 3 million, we've got 9 assists and 7 goals in season 1, with 8 goals and 5 assists in the following season, and it's obviously going to get better from here. So after a few years in your save, this is the kind of player you might be looking at with Rodrigo Mora, but let's see how he can look in the prime of his career. As that loads, it's the perfect opportunity to let you know in the description you can also find my channel where we do some Football Manager rebuilds, as well as YouTube shorts about Wonderkids you might not have heard of. So if you like Wonderkids in FM, come check the channel out, and I'd really appreciate any support over there. If you could hit the subscribe button, that would be awesome. And we're now 10 years later in 2035, and Rodrigo Mora, as you can see, is considered our key player at the club with a 5-star ability rating. And wait till you see how good he is. Remember, £3 million or so is all this guy will cost, and this is the kind of result you might get in your save. Physically, he is immense. I mean, 19 agility, 17 pace, good strength, stamina, natural fitness, balance and acceleration. It's all there. I mean, mentally, he is exceptional too. The off-the-ball work, the flair, the decision-making, concentration, composure. Mentally, he's one of the best I've ever seen in these areas of the game. The vision, combined with a passing technique, is awesome as well, and he could definitely now slot into that number 10 spot. He can finish, great first touch and dribbling ability. And just to show you how good he is, he's gone to play for the Portuguese national team and scored 27 in 53, so a goal every 2 games or so, playing in a midfield position for a national team. That is certainly not an easy feat, and Mora is absolutely smashing it for us in the league as well, with some great seasons under his belt. The best one being in 2028, where he got 23 goals and 15 assists in only 36 appearances, which is exceptional. He's continued to be one of the world's best players, but we've actually got a simulation at the end of his career. And here he is at the age of 35, going down as a Portugal legend with 124 appearances and 52 goals for the national team. He continued to be exceptional for our Real Madrid side in this save, and whilst I'm sure he didn't win any Ballon d'Ors, he would have been the best player in his position by far for the last 10 years or so of this simulation. In 665 games in the league, he's got over 400 goal contributions, most of them goals, some of them assists as well, and he is just an unbelievable talent, and I don't get how more people aren't talking about him. He has the same potential range as many of your favourites, 150 to 180. So cheap, so available from Porto straight away, should be in most of your saves, and is definitely one of my must-buys of this year's FM. Let me know if you've used him in the comments down below. Remember, if you don't think he looks good in season 1 or 2, scout him, see how he develops, and then try and make your move. It doesn't have to be an instant transfer, but if you have enjoyed, smash the like button, comment down below who you want to see next, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.